Hi YouTube. So this video is going to talk about I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm taking you back to when I was in law school to talk about, remember that I was a part-time student, which means typically 9 hours or less, but I personally took 11 due to the timing that I wanted to graduate. And then I was also a full-time employee, which means 40 hours during the work week. So this video is going to talk about a little bit about getting legal experience, getting some experience, marketing yourself, different things like that for applying for a job, for getting jobs, and then how you can balance the two. So I say this in a couple videos, and I truly mean it. Plan, prep as much as you can. I know that things happen, trust me, that are not in your plan, but if you can, try to plan, and you have to use your time wisely. So that when you can talk about the small amount of legal experience, people interviewing you are going to understand you worked full time and you took blah 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 hours and you were able to get legal experience. A lot of people, I can personally say, were impressed when I said that and the way that I worded it, because I did. I utilized the little breaks that I had. I even shadowed the prosecuting attorney's office for a week during my spring break. So as a full-time employee, remember, I worked on a campus. It was helpful for me to take the vacations during like summer, when it, around student time. So as an academic advisor, I would take a week of vacation during the spring break. And I did that. I didn't do that every spring break. I did that my last year before I graduated, because I knew that I need some legal experience and time is winding down. Now, additionally, I also had my job work with me, and they let me do a clinic. Everyone does not get to do a clinic, I understand, and it's not because of the grades or whatever. I mean, because they don't have the time to do it, because you work a full-time job. So I'm not necessarily saying that you have to have experience, legal experience, to get a job, because I personally don't. It depends. I don't think you do, but if you're a full-time student and you don't have any legal experience, I think as an employer, I would be like, what the heck have you been doing? Because you have all this time you had during this summer, especially the big firms. It's really good to try to get in, especially with the ones that you want, because for those of you that are in your second year, for example, I have a friend who interned with a nice size firm. The summer after she completed her second year. Well, after that summer, she didn't F up royally. She did a good job, so they offered her back. When you graduate, you have a job with us. So she was taking the bar knowing I have a job at this place, and that's a decent feeling. Not all of us get that as a part-time student, full-time employee. She was also a part-time student. She was able to work less hours or quit her job, I think, for that summer to work there. I mean, it just depends on what kind of job you have and how they work around you. That's another thing you need to think about. If you've been at a job for a while, stick with that job, because they're going to know your work ethic. They're going to know, what you're capable of, and that you can handle splitting the two. So they might be willing to work with you. If you just started somewhere and you don't have like vacation and stuff, you need to make sure there's a reason to why you're starting there and going part-time for law school. And I'm not saying that part-time is bad. I'm not saying instead you should go full-time. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying maybe get a job with a more of a plan. So I keep pushing working on a campus, because universities, community college, I don't care where it is, they just happen to understand, the student life, and they are more likely to promote that kind of growth, and more more likely to allow you to take off during the summer and do different things like that when students are not around as much. Whereas, like a corporate regular job, there are no breaks. It doesn't get lighter in the summer. Your job is your job all year round. So if you're just starting somewhere, really, or you're about to start law school, really consider, this is why I always preach prepping and planning. Consider early enough to start that job so that you get your 6 months probation or whatever out of the way, and then you can kind of do what you need for vacation or sick time when you need to study for law school. That kind of stuff you really have to think about ahead of time, and that's going to help you for planning to get some legal experience in. So for the nonprofit stuff, I do not feel like you need experience. So let me give you an example. The Public Defender's Office, they have great training. They're going to give you your training. So everybody pretty much comes in on the same level. Like your legal experience, whatever, you know what I mean? So you don't need legal experience for the Public Defender's Office. Maybe if you wanted to work for the circuit attorney, it would be great if you had legal experience. So for all jobs, obviously it would be great if you had legal experience. But I'm specifically talking to the people who are working full-time and at school part-time, and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to get legal experience in. Am I going to be screwed if I don't? No. Know how to market yourself, for one, because if you can talk about the fact that you balance the two, but at least once a year you got this in. Or for me, I told you about spring break. In the summer, I did the clinic because it was less hours. Now it's less work in the clinic in the summer, but I still got experience. And whoever you're applying for doesn't necessarily know that it's less work or lighter caseloads or whatever. You got that experience. You managed your time wisely. You balanced your time. You were a rock star to be able to balance part-time law school, full-time employee, and still get experience. So look at that as a whole. Don't look at, but I'm not getting the greatest experience or whatever. Get what you can. So I did special prosecution work. I would just go to my professors that worked in the clinic after I worked at the clinic, or any professor that and I asked for a volunteer opportunity. If they were doing something on the weekend, I did it. I did something called Stand Down for Homeless Veterans, where we provide legal services for homeless veterans. That looked good to put on there. I mean, you have to use what you can and get what you can while you're in school to build up to what you're going towards. So it's really helpful to know what you're going towards, obviously. And I know not everybody knows that, but again, like I said, I shadowed the prosecuting attorney's office during spring break, and I only had 1 week. Obviously, spring break is 1 week. So I did what I could, and I got that experience, and it was helpful too. And even for a week, I met, lots of people, and someone who said use me as a reference. So not to mention, I met a couple of managers of a public defender office who actually invited me to apply. One of them actually interviewed me and offered me a job. I didn't take it, but I did get offered a job from this person that I spoke to, whom I never would have met if I didn't go and do the week shadowing the prosecuting attorney. So I think if you can get legal experience, the moral of this story, if you can't, it is not the end of the world. You need to know how to sell yourself, especially as a full-time employee, part-time student. You're effective and efficient already because you balance those two, and especially those of you who have a family. I didn't have a family, so it's easy for me to just go here and there. I still don't have a family. I didn't mean to say it like I do now. But it's easier for me to navigate around and do what I can here and there than it is with someone who has to worry about children or stuff like that. So legal experience is helpful, but it is not the end of the world if you don't get it. And I completely understand having that fearful thought, especially if you're going into the public sector. They will take you, don't worry. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and then I'm going to do another video. So hopefully you watch that one too. I hope this helped, and as always, if you have questions, just leave them in the comments below. They automatically come to my email and I try to answer them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.